Welcome to iAccessVO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with VoiceOver accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccessVO. You know, Ed, just the other day, I had to enter my birth date into a iTunes app, and it was funny because the year came up on 2016, and I'm thinking, I don't think very many people born in 2016 are buying apps. And it took me an awful while. I started getting hand cramps rolling back to the year I was born. I could only imagine the kind of hand cramps you get when you roll back to the year you were born.
Okay, let's get started right away.
Well, hey, it'd probably be easier for you if they started it at 1900.
Almost. I hate to say it, but almost.
I don't know why they always start those things at 2016, I mean, it's like, oh, God, I got to roll back, I'm not even saying how many times I've got to flick it back, but...
You know what? I know you're trying to be funny, but by the year 2020, it would be half of one, 6 dozen of the other. You could go either way. It would be just as many flicks.
Yeah. It's, the sand.
Thanks, Brian. You're really making me feel great on this Sunday afternoon.
Sand in the hourglass keeps on going. Hey, you know what they say about professional athletes? Nobody's ever won a fight against Father Time. So, it's you wonder where all the years go. But I'll tell you, flicking through those things sometimes it's like I've got to pause. I'm like, wow, I'm only half the way there. So I was thinking about you though when I had to do it. I'm like, hey, so. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's we're back to our Sunday afternoon routine, which makes me feel better. That last show we did, that Friday night recording, was rough.
Yeah. Well, now, it's funny because I didn't even go out last night, and I told you I was on 3 hours sleep. It's just sometimes I sleep and sometimes I don't. But, I was debating what to start the show off with. And instead of starting off with what's pissing off Brian, I figured, why not throw a shot at Ed? But now let's get into what's pissing off Brian. Because, last episode you and I talked about how, we completely understand how developers have got to eat and make money. But, there is another flip side to that equation because I asked a good buddy of mine the other day. He's had an iPhone for 5 years. He's got sight. I asked him if he's ever paid $60 for an app, and you know what his response was? In the 5 years he's had an iPhone, he hasn't paid $60 for all of his apps.
Wow. Yeah, I get it that it's a limited market. I get it that there may be a huge amount of development that may go into something, but it is tough, and there is some sticker shock whenever an app is priced over $35. I get that myself. I've paid $30 for Blind Square.
Yeah.
And I think I paid $65 for KNFB Reader because I bought it on sale. I just could not pull the trigger at the $100 mark. I couldn't do it.
No. The reason we bring this up is because a new app hit the iStore just a few days ago, Nearby Explorer. I believe it's by American Printing House for the Blind.
That's it, yes.
Oh, right, yeah. Why do they have to say long titles? The reviews seem great, but $80? Seriously, $80 and no trial period to test it out for a few days and see if it's something that would be beneficial? I mean, I assumed when I saw the $80 price tag that all blind people except me were millionaires.
It's it is a little pricey. And I don't see a reason for me to go out and do it. I'm perfectly happy using Apple Maps and Google Maps, and in New York City. But Blind Square works great.
Let's be fair to our listeners. You enjoy getting lost.
No, I rarely get lost in New York City because it's a big grid. All I have to do is walk east or west long enough, and I'm going to hit a river.
what excites me, I heard somebody do a podcast with the app already. They took it out for a spin, and I like the turn-by-turn directions. There's a billion different options. I like the fact, unlike the Seeing Eye, it's not a yearly thing where you're getting. I had the Seeing Eye for 1 year. I did not use it that much. Blind Square is a fantastic app and more in my price range. What was it, $24.95 or $30 or something?
Well, it actually started out, I think, originally at $15.
That's when I might have gotten it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of work done on that app, and as a developer, very in tune with the community, communicates well. Responds to feedback, and so he charges $30, which I think is a fair price for it. And that's what I paid for it.
Yeah, no. Once you get up in that 50 range and over that, that's when I'm like, are you kidding me? It just like I said, when I talk to my sighted buddy, it's just I get it. These are things providing services, and there's actually free GPS apps out there with turn-by-turn directions for sighted people, because I tested out one the other day, and of course I'm forgetting the name of it. It just didn't really seem to work that well with VoiceOver. But it's just, I don't know where these companies think us blind people are getting all this money from. I'm not sitting on extra coins in my couch over here, Ed.
Yeah, it's funny for turn by turn. I will just activate Siri when I'm out on the street and say walking directions to, and give it the address, and I get turn by turn directions. And I have to tell you, it's probably 98% accurate. In New York, which is pretty impressive considering all the tall buildings and everything.
Yeah, well, my problem is Siri likes to put me in Japan, so my walks turn into a lot longer than yours.
That's because your family's paying Siri to send you to Japan.
Hey, my family's listened to one episode, so it's interesting though, because I told you when I went to do a search in the App Store, I got no results, and you said the same thing happened to you.
Yes, when you mentioned the app to me, I went into, actually it was another app you had mentioned, so I went to the App Store to search for it, and it wouldn't come up. And that's not the first time I've seen that. In working with students, and sometimes I turn them on to a new app, they would be sitting in my office, go to the App Store, type it in perfectly, hit the search button, and it wouldn't come up. And I would search for it, and I would get it, and I just don't understand it. And you mentioned to me that sometimes just going and closing the app in the App Switcher and relaunching it will work sometimes, but I know there are some other issues with that, because there have been times when I could not find it that way. So I would actually go to my desk, look it up online, and then email the link to the student and have the student just tap on it, and it would come up in the App Store. So I don't know what algorithms they use in the App Store for search, or if they vary from unit to unit or type of device, but it doesn't seem to be consistent.
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot lately, where I do a search and it just seems to be spinning and timing out, and I force quit the app and I do the search again, and obviously this is an issue with the App Store. I thought at first it was just my phone, but when you told me you were having the same issue, it seems, I think at times maybe the App Store is just overrun with traffic. Could that be the case? It
has to be, because you and I are both. You're using the 6S. I'm running the 5 SE, but they're both using the A9 chip with 2 gigabytes of RAM. So we're not running out of power on our devices. So it definitely has to be the servers at Apple.
Yeah. Ed, we record these shows on Sunday, but I don't know what we're going to start doing in 2 weeks, because the NFL is coming back. And I like me some NFL Sunday football, so we'll have to figure that out. But with the new season, I have to go in and check all my sports apps. And somebody reached out to me, and I said, why aren't we doing our iAccessVO Fantasy League on the NFL app? And I said, because it's not accessible. They said, no, it works with VoiceOver. Sure enough, I went in, I checked out the NFL Fantasy app, works with VoiceOver, which I was pleasantly surprised, because the NFL has a long-running history of not being fully accessible. So I got all excited and fired up the NFL's main app there, and sure enough, it didn't work fully with VoiceOver. So it's a little bizarre to have a company to have 2 apps, and one to work fully with VoiceOver and one not to work fully with VoiceOver.
Yeah, well, obviously different teams and different management, I would guess, because you would think that if one worked well, the other would work well too. So which app are you guys going to use? Are you going to use the Yahoo app or the NFL? Okay.
Yeah, I have a long history, and I'm working with Yahoo with the accessibility. It was just somebody that had asked about that and then brought that to my attention. And how odd, Ed, I heard an advertisement for the all-new ESPN Fantasy app, and I went and checked that out, and what do you know? Doesn't work at all with VoiceOver. I don't know. ESPN, they just don't care, they were bragging how they signed up 1 million people in one day for fantasy football ESPN, and I'm thinking, I don't think any of those are blind people.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. I just don't get it. You have some companies that really make an effort, and you have other companies that there's nothing there. Yeah. There's just nothing there at all.
Nah, they just don't care. And what's so shocking is, they're owned by, I guess ABC owns Disney and owns ESPN, or is it Disney owns them?
I think Disney owns a lot, so it's you would think there'd be more there, but that's why you have to give kudos to organizations like ACB and the NFB, because I'm going to tell you, I may not agree with them on all issues all the time, but if it wasn't for these organizations, we wouldn't have half of what we have today, because they will usually reach out and offer to work with an organization, and if nothing happens, then they'll launch a lawsuit, and sometimes litigation is the only thing that gets things to move forward for us.
You're not saying that so they won't sue us, are you?
I haven't given them any reason to sue us.
I noticed you say I, not we.
Well, yeah. Where's that bus, Brian? Watch out. I might throw you under it.
Unbelievable. I didn't know I could be sued for doing a podcast. You had forwarded me an interesting article about Twitter, because we've gotten a lot of questions asked about the NFL with the season coming up. So for those of you that are not sports fans, we do apologize for the NFL talk, but the season's about 2.5 weeks away. Interesting thing that Twitter is trying to do, talking about live streaming NFL games on Thursday nights for the cable cutters out there.
Yeah, and I think, the reason it caught my eye was not so much that Twitter is doing that, because I believe that they have the rights to do this already. They have acquired them from the NFL. The thing that was fascinating is that they're looking to do a deal with Apple to stream the Twitter feed on the Apple TV. So I guess we'll be looking for a Twitter app coming out for Apple TV, plus having access to live streaming of football games on Apple TV as well.
Yeah, I think it might just be for that Thursday night game. I read the article, and I think it's because multiple networks have the rights to that Thursday night game. It didn't look like it was going to be for all the games, but yeah, that could be interesting. A Twitter app coming that would stream those Thursday night NFL games, because I checked my Apple TV earlier today, and I went into the NFL app, and the first thing when you have to log in comes, go to this website and do that, and enter this number code, and sure enough, the number code is not read to you with VoiceOver, which is... Yeah, ever since, you and I have discussed this, ever since Apple stopped controlling the development of apps with the Apple TV 4th generation, and the companies now, they design their own apps. Accessibility for a lot of these apps, ESPN, they can't seem to label their 34 channels. It just says channel, channel, channel. Worked perfectly on the Apple TV 3. The NFL, you're going to have to get some sighted assistance, it looks like, to log in with your Apple TV to the NFL network.
Well, that's just one of the issues with the Apple TV. The other is, I don't think that they really have defined who they are or what they're going to be. I mean, I've been hearing for years how this was going to be the way TV was going to be, handled. The Apple TV was going to be, the end all of everything, and there's nothing really there. I mean, there's no original content. They haven't secured any major deals with networks. So, what's going on, Apple?
I think it's beneficial to the networks not to let Apple do it. they still make most of their money from the cable company providers and the partnerships and the money that the cable companies pay per network. And I don't really see it changing in the next few years. You can log in and get, on-demand programming and past episodes if you have a cable subscription. Otherwise, a few of those network apps allow you after a few days or a week to watch the latest episode or something. But I don't really see it changing. I think the cable companies, they're very slow to change. And I guess maybe if more people start cutting the cord, maybe that's when they'll change. But right now, they just seem to keep raising their taxes and making sure you can't understand your cable bill, and people like me keep paying it.
Yeah, and plus, what cord cutters have? They have Netflix.
Yeah, and I've been loving my Netflix. They did a fantastic job with the Netflix original programming, Described Video. I think they're up to over about 40 series, and I finally got around to finishing the first season of House of Cards, and they really did an excellent job with the Described Video for that show.
Right, and I think that's what Apple is thinking of doing, or trying to move in the direction of original content, but, God, they move slowly sometimes.
Yeah, well, getting back to streaming, because one of the questions that we got asked recently from an email was, how do we listen to our NFL and college football games? And my first answer, unfortunately, regarding the college football games is I think I got lucky, because I have an app that I've had for about 5 years that cost me, I believe, 99 cents called College Football Radio, which still works. But I could not find it in the App Store. There's about 30 different things in the App Store now called College Football Radio. To our listeners, if you have a college football app that allows you to stream the radio feeds, go ahead and email us in or tweet us in so we can let our users know at iAccessVO@gmail.com or tweet us in at iAccessVO.
Well, I think that the issue is that A is finding something where you can listen to the games, but the other is, when you're blacked out, is there a way to get those games streamed to you some other way?
Yeah, well, the thing that I've gotten, I did find this in the App Store, the Pro Football Radio by JJAC, I believe, is still in the App Store. As of last season, I have not listened to any preseason games. I did not have any issues getting any NFL game streams. Each team has about 7 radio stations, and most of the time you could find one of those streams which will be playing your game.
All right. Well, we'll have to check that out. So again, listeners, if you have a better way of doing it, either email us in at iAccessVO@gmail.com or give us a call. We'd love to get you and put your voice on the show. Just try and keep it to 60 seconds or less. Give us a fax. Give us your feedback, and call us in at 732-660-8641.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought I heard you say give us a fax. I was like, I didn't know you could fax the show. Yeah, it's interesting because we're doing this show, mostly for the blind and visually impaired. But a buddy of mine called me up, and he was kind of curious if he was sighted and curious if something worked with VoiceOver. He was playing Amazon Prime, a movie, and he paused it, and on his screen on his iPad there was a ton of cast information. It told him what song was playing in the background. There was an Easter egg, which for those of you who are not familiar with that, that's something that the I guess creators of the movie have snuck in sometimes in scenes. And I went to the Amazon app and tested it out on a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. I paused it, and sure enough, it said Larry David plays so-and-so, and you could tap on his name, and there was all sorts of information, and it also said Jeff Garland. So it was great to see that works with VoiceOver. Very cool feature there with the Amazon Prime movies there.
So what is that called? Amazon X-Ray or something? What is that?
Yeah. I guess it's called Amazon X-Ray. I didn't know this. Amazon, I guess, now owns the Internet Movie Database, the IMDb, which if you're not using the IMDb, it's a great app, fully accessible. If you've ever wondered who was in a movie or something, you can look that up. It's got a ton of different features. I'm actually listed on the IMDb, but they have all my credits wrong, which kind of annoys me. I tried to get it fixed a few years ago, but after spending 12 hours trying to get them to update it, it just wasn't worth the time.
So that's what? That's India, Mary, David, Boy, right? IMDb?
That's correct. Yeah, you confused me. I was like, what are we in a foxhole here? It's like India, Mary, David, Bravo. But
Bravo, you got it.
Yeah, no, it's if you haven't used it, it's a fantastic app, and you don't have to sign in or create an account or anything. I'm not even signed in on there, and just tons of information. I mean, you could spend hours in that app. Anything you've ever wanted to know about any movie or television show, it's a great app. Anytime you're wondering a question about anything, But
well, I think it's great that Amazon has that feature, and you're able to get all that information. But when are they going to give us some described video?
I keep scratching my head on that, considering what a commitment Amazon has recently made to making their products accessible out of the box. But come on, Amazon. Where is that streaming described content,
I mean, the content already exists. It's just a matter of opening up a channel for it for distribution. I mean, it's there. I mean, if Netflix isn't describing the videos, they're taking it from the producers and just making it available.
I think Netflix is describing their own content, though.
Well, their own content, because that's original content. They're the producers, but there's 140 or 50 audio described movies there, and even in iTunes now, and Apple's not describing those movies. Those are done by the producers of the films.
Yeah, it's one head scratcher from Amazon. I don't know why they haven't been hit with anything from any of the projects out there, working on getting described video. I mean, Netflix, they fought it for a very long time, but ever since they've come on board, I really have to give them major kudos. And they've done a fantastic job with making their app much more accessible, as well as providing quality described video. Yeah.
Yes, they are. So, so our next topic, and this is where we actually, discovered the app search issue in our conversation, because you had contacted me to download Google Duo, which is a new app, DUO, and you wanted me to call you the next day when I read the email in the morning. So that's the one where I went to the App Store and I kept getting the spinning circle, and it would not find it. I had to actually go to my desktop and do a search and then email it to myself and tap on it and pull it up and download it. But incredible app. I mean, I think it's the most downloaded app last week. It's just blowing the doors off of WhatsApp and a few other social media type calling featured applications. But the unique thing about this is that for the first time, you can actually do video calls with friends who have Android phones.
Yeah, well, I guess you could have done that over Facebook, though.
Well, you could have done it over Facebook too. But this is a really simple, streamlined application, and it was 100% accessible, which amazed me because it's Google.
90% accessible.
Okay.
We couldn't flip between the front and back cameras.
That wasn't an accessibility issue. That was a broken feature.
Really?
Because it didn't work when I turned VoiceOver off either.
Oh, okay. Good to hear. Yeah, no, I was shocked. I've been long a detractor of Google and saying, you're not putting me behind the wheel in one of your self-driving cars. Make Google Docs fully accessible. Make Gmail fully accessible. So I was pleasantly surprised when this came out. I don't think I'm going to use it because I don't really like talking to people when they can see me and I can't see them, but I'm a weird person. So, I like to sit here in the nude eating Jell-O, but...
Oh, that's an image I didn't need right now, Brian.
Hey, I was hot and I was hungry. And no, that's actually from a movie, Real Genius. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I do not sit here doing the podcast nude and eating Jell-O, but Ed does, though. So, but no, like I said, it's just weird when I can't see them, and it could be useful though, for say when I can't find Nash in the apartment, and I could just call somebody, and I now wouldn't have to worry if they're on an iPhone and use FaceTime. Now I just have to worry that they have the Google Duo app.
Right, exactly, and and it is available, internationally, and we do know that a lot of the blind, low vision community outside of the U.S., Canada, and UK use Android phones. So, and that basically is because of the price point. So,
I thought I killed all those listeners out in some of those countries.
Well, we may not. You're doing a good job of it, but they're still out there.
You've explained to me Italy and Germany are two completely separate countries.
Yes.
I'm kidding. I actually been to Italy, never been to Germany. By the way, I was in Italy in 1998 when I was beginning to lose my vision right before I walked with a cane. Venice, probably the least friendly blind city in the world with all those steps.
Yeah. Well, also if you turn the wrong way and take a step, you end up in the water.
Which my ex-girlfriend probably would have loved to have done to me, but topic for another time. Her and I definitely never went down the tunnel of love, but you introduced me to something called Tunnel Bear.
Yeah, actually, Tunnel Bear was brought up the first time on our podcast by Allison Hartley. She had mentioned it because I was using ProXPN at the time.
I thought she mentioned Hide My Ass. That is the real name of the app. Don't forget.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
Yes, HMA. Every time I hear that, but yeah, no, that was the app that she talked very glowingly about.
But she did mention Tunnel Bear as well, so I didn't remember the other one for some reason. But
how can you not remember Hide My Ass?
I don't know. Some things I just choose to forget.
We're talking about my derriere, but. No, so go ahead. You introduced me to Tunnel Bear, so.
Yeah, well, actually, the reason I had looked into it was because of we'd gotten the email about being blacked out for a broadcast, and I was wondering if you used a VPN and you opened up in another city somewhere in the country, would you be able to then listen to a broadcast of a football game that was blacked out in your area? Unfortunately that didn't seem to work because, whatever happens when you do come out in another city in the United States, it still knows where you are. Cause I noticed that when I went to Facebook and I posted, it knew exactly where I was. I went to check in, it knew exactly where I was. So somehow that information is still getting through to know where you are at, but it is giving you a privacy, portal, which is awesome because that's the biggest problem by using your devices in public Wi-Fi is that you never know who's there and can actually look and see exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it depends on the actual VPN you're using because I tried Tunnel Bear. I went and said, hey, let me be in England, and then I fired up Netflix and I had a ton of different content. I was like, this is awesome because I noticed they had The Big Bang Theory, which in the United States The Big Bang Theory is not on Netflix. I'm thinking, this is a way to get even more content. Well, I went to fire it up and play, and sure enough, Netflix realized that I was using something to hide my location, and it wouldn't play, so I did a little research, and there are specific VPNs out there, which I guess that you have to pay for, where I guess the Tunnel Bear uses VPN addresses that put you at a very popular spot in another country. And Netflix knows those VPNs and knows to block them.
Right, and for full disclosure, we're just testing and using the free version of Tunnel Bear right now.
Yeah. Well, you heard us earlier complaining about $80. You don't think I'm going to pay for a VPN when I could get it for free?
No, but a VPN is good though. If you ever find yourself in an environment where you have to access either your banking information or do something, sometimes you just have to do that when you're out, and just pop into a VPN and just feel a little more secure.
And Tunnel Bear, very accessible, very easy to use. You get 500 megs free, and it's probably wise when you're out, if you make use of public Wi-Fi, to go ahead and fire up a VPN first. Makes it even harder to hack.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't stream YouTube videos and or Netflix through it, but I would use it for just email and things like that.
Yeah, an extra layer. It's an extra layer of privacy. I think it's great, and 500 megs. It does seem to go fast, but you can get a paid membership and do your research. There's a ton of different VPNs out there, and this is just one of them. Like I said, we tested out the free one.
Yes, and like I said, I've used ProXPN before too. Also very good. The reason I had looked a little more into Tunnel Bear because on the annual subscription fee, it was about $30 a year cheaper. So Tunnel Bear came in around $49.95 to be able to have unlimited data on my PC and on my tablet and on my iPhone if I choose to go that route. So, I'll be checking it out a little more because eventually I think I will subscribe to one of these services.
It's funny because I'm thinking, our guest, he probably has to go through a lot of tunnels to get to New York, and for all we know, he could be a bear.
Yeah, but I don't think he leaves Long Island much, so I don't know if he goes through tunnels or bridges. I think he mostly just stays out here on Long Island.
Why not? Why don't we go ahead and go speak to him out there?
Okay, let's go hook up with Mr. John Panarese.
Now we'd like to welcome back to the show a man that Ed and I would love to call our little Pokemon from Long Island, but due to a lack of accessibility, we'll just have to stick with Mr. John Panarese. How you doing today, John?
Well, you see, I can't be Pokemon because I don't go.
Ah, exactly. Is that because you're blind and you can't
That's right. It's not accessible, so I can't run around all over the place like an idiot and fall off cliffs and go into military bases and all that fun stuff.
Don't forget subway tracks.
Yes, subway tracks too, yes.
Yeah. I heard they got signs in the New York City subway saying, please do not trace Pokemons onto the subway tracks, and I'm thinking, isn't that natural selection?
Yeah, that's what I would know. I get into trouble for saying things like that, so I'll just stay away. I'll leave that up to you.
Hey, I love trouble. Trouble come and get me. But the trouble that I do not love, though, happens to be some trouble I got into when I was partitioning my hard drive over here. I don't know if I did it when I was, starting to use the Sierra beta, or if my buddy did it when I was trying to get a partition set up for Windows to be installed. But, John, I had a terabyte Fusion drive. Now I have a 800 gig Fusion drive. Have you ever heard of anything like this happening?
I've heard oddities happen with dynamically partitioning drives, especially Fusion drives, because of the way that they're set up. Usually that you have to do, it's like part of the core storage thing that Apple has now, and you might be able to fix that with command line tools. But that might be something you might have to do a little research into. But I know that I've heard of people having some really weird things happen if they try to partition, Fusion drives, because it is basically, for those who are not familiar with a Fusion drive, is it's really an SSD and a spinning drive sort of combined so that they appear as one partition or one disk to the system.
Yeah, and I've done my research. Actually, I'm working with Apple right now, and they think they're going to have a fix for me this week. When you hear Apple say you've broken your hard drive for that split second, you panic, especially when it's a new computer, and then they say, no, we mean you virtually broke it, so it is fixable and everything. You never like to hear you've broken your hard drive.
No, not especially from an Apple Care person. That's not a good thing.
No, but they kicked it up to engineering, and as you mentioned, there might be a way to fix it doing some command line stuff without having to roll everything back. I mean, worst case. I then did some research on this, and as I was telling Ed, it's actually fairly common for large chunks of Fusion drives to go missing, which if I had to do it all over again, I'd never buy a Fusion drive. I thought they were supposed to be these great drives. And
they are. The principle is really nice because what it does is you have the speed and flexibility of the SSD drive, because technically the system is supposed to run anything that you commonly use, any applications, tasks, that gets run off the SSD while your actual, your data, your home folder and stuff is on the the spinning drive itself. So it's supposed to make your system seem like it's got full SSD. So that theoretically is great, but just like you said, I've read stories about people who tried to manipulate the drives that run into problems.
Yeah, this is not just unique to Fusion drives, though. I mean, we used to do a lot of partitioning with drives, back in the day when we were just working with Windows machines, and we would run into some difficulties. So I think I had mentioned to you, Brian, about we always use this partition magic for Windows, and they do have partition magic for Mac. So it looks like they've gotten some pretty good awards and stuff the past year or so. So, if you have difficulty when you do the rollback, if it doesn't work, I would maybe look into using partition magic to try and retrieve your 200 gigs.
Yeah, either that or I'm going to have to live with having an 800 gig hard drive.
I think Apple will probably give you some command lines to run, and to help, hopefully, something that will impact the core storage and, get you back your 200 gigs.
Yeah, no, I've actually been very, pleased with Apple. They actually called me twice on Thursday to let me know they were still working on it and that they think they're going to be able to get a fix from engineering. And, we'll see this week if I hear back from them. So, and again, like I said, who are you calling if this happens on a PC? So, Ed, who would you be calling?
On the PC side,
yeah.
I guess you have to call Windows.
Call up Microsoft.
Microsoft, help me.
Do they even have a help desk anymore at Microsoft?
Yeah, actually,
they have an accessibility hotline, I think.
Yes, they do.
Is it 24 hours?
I don't know if it's 24 hours. I haven't, I'm using that up at 2 o'clock in the morning like you, Brian.
The first time we called him when this happened was at 4 a.m. in the morning. So,
yeah, and if I am up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm not on my computer.
You and me both.
I was trying. My buddy happened to stop by, and I was trying to get Fusion and Windows installed and everything, and it just didn't work out. Now, John,
wait! Your buddy stopped by at 4 in the morning. What are you guys, vampires?
He actually came over at midnight, and he was with his dog. He wanted his dog Susie to meet Nash, and I don't think Nash was that interested. But no, it was a cute little dog and everything. And then he was trying to. I was like, hey, by the way, while you're here, because I've been trying to get him to come over for a while, and wish we wouldn't have done that. Like they say. Like they say, nothing good ever happens after midnight. But speaking of good, though, we're only a few weeks away, gentlemen, from the new iOS. What is it? iOS 10 coming out.
Yep, and Mac OS Sierra.
And I believe, John, you may be doing some betas for the iOS as well as the Mac. I've been doing the betas, and I typically have always told people, and Ed will want to get your opinion here, to not rush out and install these systems as soon as they drop. But people, I got to tell you, I've had such a great experience with iOS 10. If you know what you're doing, I wouldn't hesitate to install this when it comes out. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, definitely. It's good. You never want to jinx things, but where it stands now, iOS 10 is really very nice, and I'm pretty impressed. The last couple of previews of Sierra have really. I mean, I'm running it pretty much full time now for my everyday tasks. So,
me too.
I think it's going to be really. I don't think I'm going to have any problems. Usually, I recommend the 0.0 philosophy. Don't necessarily install 0.0s. But right. I may change that a little bit with this iOS 10 and the Mac OS, Sierra updates.
Yeah, and I think that's okay for someone like you, Brian, even myself, if I chose to do it. But for the general newbie user or novice user, I still would advise them to wait because you just don't know.
That's true. It's true. Because, again, we still have another month plus, so who knows what they'll break before that happens.
Yes.
And that's all it takes. It just takes one more iteration, and something could go haywire.
Yeah. I'm just saying as it stands this moment, so I want to stress that because I've seen things go south in weird ways. They decide to add some – because, Apple's really great at sneaking in features that don't come into the picture until the later beta cycles. Sometimes that causes problems.
They're going to be like, ooh, this is going to be really genius. Let's sneak a Pokemon into the operating system and it'll break all accessibility.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Brian. Thanks a lot.
But no, I've been running the Sierra beta because I can't stand El Capitan, and I've been very, very happy. Don't get me wrong, there's still, of course, like anything, it's an operating system. It's computers. They're not perfect. There's some minor glitches, nothing major that I can't do without, but I'm running the Sierra beta all the time. In fact, I switched back over to El Cap to do this call here, but I guarantee as soon as I'm done, I'm restarting the computer and rebooting up in Sierra, and it's just a very smooth. Every beta update has been very smooth, and I felt has worked fantastic with VoiceOver.
Yes.
So when you were doing the partition, were you doing that in El Cap, or were you doing it in the Sierra?
It was El Cap. Okay. I thought to roll, might as well. I only set up 100 gigs for the Sierra beta, and I figured I'd delete that once it came out. And I didn't know I'd have such a pleasant experience. I normally do not beta test the Mac operating systems because I just haven't done it before, but I couldn't stand El Capitan. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm talking about minor bugs. You can run El Capitan, but there were some minor bugs that drove me bonkers. And one of the things that I've been very happy as I've reported a lot of bugs in Sierra, and John, I've seen a couple of updates. One of them having to do with the rotor, where things are coming up in the proper order now. So Apple's listening. I could definitely tell you that. I don't know if it was from me or multiple people, but Apple is definitely listening, because that was something that was really bothering me. When things didn't come up in the order they were from the top to the bottom of the page, and that's been fixed, at least in the latest beta. And I definitely think they're listening to people that are filing VoiceOver bug reports and everything.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think they really want to get it right, like they did with the iOS. Remember when I think it was iOS 9.2, was it? Where all of a sudden the major bugs that people were really complaining about suddenly seemed to get hammered out.
Yeah.
And I think they're looking to do the same thing with 10.12.
I don't think we're doing breaking any non-disclosure stuff here. How do you like the Siri on the Mac there?
I think it's pretty cool.
I really only use it to launch songs, but I'll tell you, when you got 25,000 songs on your computer, it's very nice to use.
Well, the only thing I'm kind of a little curious about is if you ask her to do, like, let's say I wanted to say, text Brian, how's it going today, ? She doesn't actually read me what I've said. She'll just say, here's your message to Brian. Do you want to send, receive, send, change, or cancel, or whatever. Doesn't actually read me what she thinks I said, which I don't know if that's going to be fixed. I hope that's going to be fixed, because that's the only issue that I'm having with Siri. Otherwise, all the other things I've tried using her with has been really impressive.
Ed's the only one I sent an email to, honestly. If I only think people that are not great typists are going to find Siri that useful. I can still just type and do things with my shortcuts so much faster that I'm not really going to use it. But for people that are not great typists, are not great at navigating the computer, I think it could be quite helpful for them in opening different applications and like you said, sending messages and everything. So hopefully they'll get that stuff straightened out. And
have either of you used it for doing dictation for anything longer than a couple of sentences?
Yes, I've done the dictation part, and it works really well.
Right, because on the iOS devices, you get about into that third sentence, and sometimes you hit that fourth sentence and it just bogs down on
Yeah, because the Mac has the enhanced dictation, which downloads it's like the 760 megabyte package that gives you unlimited dictation, and you don't need an internet connection.
Oh, so all the processing for that is done
on the system.
On the hardware. Right. Awesome. Mm-hmm.
What, John, what have you heard anything about the new iPhones coming out? Any features or anything they might have that are exciting you? Ed and I were talking about this earlier, and we just haven't really heard much about the specs. It seems to be very quiet.
I think Apple is deliberately muddying the waters, because you hear, the only thing that I think is going to be true is that there's the demise of the headphone jack that some people have really just lost their minds over. And I kind of get a chuckle.
Yeah.
Because it's like so many things over the years, people have erupted with outrage over changes, like when the floppy drive was removed from computers, and optical drives were. No, they're never going to sell computers that don't have physical optical drives on them, and I just don't see the problem personally.
Do you know the only computer in the world that still is controlled by a floppy disk? Do you know what it is?
No.
Yeah, it's our missile system.
Yes, that's right. That's absolutely true. People don't believe that.
And we're not talking the 3.5 hard floppy disk. We're talking about the original floppy disk.
Right.
Which is funny because all those movies, the 6,000 movies that have come out about somebody hacking the United States missile defense is impossible. They're all impossible.
Right.
Like the War Games movie from
they hacked, via computer. That was. There's no internet connected. There's no. It's just impossible. I've tried hacking the United States missile defense, and I was going to send a missile out to John over there on Long Island, but I
wouldn't have noticed the difference.
Yeah. But no, yeah. The getting back to that. It's funny. The only time I ever use the jack for the earphone is when we're recording this show, so I can hear my notes, because I'm always using Bluetooth, and the only time I ever use the Apple earbuds is when we're doing this show. So I might not be able to do the show once they get rid of the headphone jack.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm hearing is there's some talk about there being a dual lens camera, but that's really it. I mean, and I think what that is next year is the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone, and I think that there's a lot of things that they have in the pipeline that are either being held off on or just weren't ready for this year. So I'm anticipating a really radical change in the iPhone for next year.
Where that dual lens camera comes in very helpful is for people playing Pokemon Go.
You're going to keep going back to that, aren't you?
Hey,
I think there's a little frustration that you can't play.
I have no interest. My frustration is all spent on ESPN and the NFL.
So, hey, John, you're in the iAccessVO fantasy football league too, aren't you?
Yes. And how do you do that draft? By the way, we'll have to talk after the show, Brian, because I don't understand how to do that draft.
You obviously didn't read the league message that I sent out about.
I did. I thought I did.
I'll talk to you about that off the show, because I know the listeners that aren't in the league are like, enough with this fantasy football.
Right. But you filled up pretty fast, though, Brian. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, that's pretty 12 teams. 12
teams.
I
was shocked, man. It's going to be
12 teams that I could be 12th place in now for.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, beating all of you and everything. So, but,
awesome.
Well, John, this was a quick one. We'll get you on longer the next time. We just wanted to go over a few updates and see if you knew where my 200 gigs were. Maybe they're out there on your computer.
I stole them because I needed them for my porn collection. Now that we have,
Pornhub.
Jesus.
Very true. Very true. Very good, John. We'll be speaking with you soon.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's always a pleasure.
All right, John. Thanks a lot, John.
All right.
Be good.
That was our little Pokemon, John from MacForTheBlind.com. Always interesting, John.
Yeah, John always has great information, great insight, and very knowledgeable, and it's awesome that he takes the time to come every so many episodes with us and just share his knowledge.
And I'm really looking forward to beating him at fantasy football.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think we'll have some good content going forward because you've got some good guys in that league.
We do. Looking forward to it with our draft next weekend. Now, Ed, I saw on August 2nd that Windows 10, the 1-year anniversary, dropped, and I heard a demo of this of Windows Narrator, which I was never impressed with. I was blown away when I heard the demo of Windows Narrator. Have you gotten a chance to check it out yet?
I haven't had a chance to check it out since the latest update. I mean, Narrator is functional. It does work. I've had to use it on occasions when I've had to configure PCs with outside assistance, and I'm trying to get everything loaded up on them before I can get screen readers or magnification software installed. And it will help me get to the point where I I can get everything rolling. But from what I understand, I was looking for a major move on Narrator next January 1st or 2nd, but it looks like they may have jumped the gun a little bit and come out with some of those features a little early. So you were telling me you were listening to another podcast that really went into this in depth, weren't you?
Yeah, and it's a shame because if my buddy would have gotten things set up straight, I'd already have, because he had the Windows 10 1-year anniversary, not the, as you pointed out to me, Windows 10-year anniversary, because they've been around a little longer than that. But
and so have I.
Yeah, we've established this. I have too. But no, I heard a demo on Main Menu where they had a couple of the developers on it. It was funny because I heard them saying, I've been working with Narrator for 15 years. I'm like, really? Well, what have you been doing for the last 10? I know, I'm sure they're working hard, but I was very impressed when I heard the demo. I mean, it sounded, they even have something, I forget what they called it. It was similar to QuickNav for you Mac users out there. It has made unbelievable strides. Until I get to play around with it personally, that's a different, I won't really know fully, but I was really impressed with the demo, and I'd never really been interested in playing around with Narrator. I'm really looking forward to checking it out, though.
Yeah, I think our only exposure to Narrator initially was when we had picked up those Microsoft tablets a year or so ago, and we were actually installing NVDA on them, and we used Narrator to get to the point where we could get NVDA installed. So that was my first entree into really attempting to use Narrator. But since I've been at the Lighthouse Guild, I've had to use it on numerous occasions when I'm configuring a new PC.
Yeah, no, like I said, I was very impressed, and I'm looking forward if we ever get my configuration here fixed and everything. But you had sent me an interesting article about Pittsburgh.
Yes, and I think this is good because I want to hear about you actually getting denied a ride on a Uber, an unmanned Uber car, when you have a service dog.
You see, now you're just stealing my Facebook posts, man. No, I had told you you had posted this article after you sent it to me on Facebook, and I said, great. I can't wait to be denied a ride by a robot for having a service dog,
So apparently they're getting ready to fire up, and they're doing unmanned Uber trials. Now, when we say unmanned vehicles, there are people in these vehicles right now, but they're just there for safety purposes. So they're using the autonomous vehicles. They're SUVs produced by Volvo, and they're rolling them out. And you have two people actually in the front seat. You have a driver with immediate ready access to the wheel if he needs to, and then you have an observer who's taking notes constantly. And if you're lucky enough to be picked up by one of these unmanned Uber cars right now in Pittsburgh, your ride is free.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird for me because I often accidentally open the front passenger door and sit in the front seat. So that's hey now. That's going to be a little, well, what's going on here? Yeah, you already got a passenger. But no, that's interesting. In Pittsburgh, I wonder why they chose Pittsburgh.
The reason they chose Pittsburgh is because Uber made a huge effort to establish a base in Pittsburgh because of Carnegie Mellon University. Carnegie Mellon is one of the top colleges in the United States for robotics.
Didn't I read they stole a lot of their robotics engineers?
I think they didn't necessarily steal them, but they had access to them. So, they're all students. They're all still going to school. I mean, it is a great school. I mean, I learned about Carnegie Mellon years ago when I had my own high-tech company, and I was doing a lot of work with Silicon Graphics out of California at the time. And Silicon Graphics did a lot of recruitment from Carnegie Mellon because the kids that came out of there, they just knew their stuff.
Yeah, well, you know who went to an even better school than Carnegie Mellon?
Who's that?
Tim Cook.
Oh, where'd he go?
Beats the heck out of me. I'm sure it's somewhere better than Carnegie Mellon, though.
I knew you didn't know where he went, and I just had to ask.
I don't even know if there's a K at the end of his name or an E. That's the fun thing about being blind. You hear things and I'm just not sure. I've never spelt it out by character, but he just celebrated his 5-year anniversary at the helm of Apple. And my question for you is, 5 years of Tim Cook, do you think accessibility is better or worse, Ed?
Ultimately, I think it's better.
I agree.
I think it's better not just at Apple. I think it's better across the board. It's better at Apple. It's better at Google. It's better at Amazon. It's better at Microsoft. It's better at IBM. I mean, things have just moved in the right direction. Now, has he hit a few bumps on the way? Absolutely. iOS 7, I'll be a long time before I forget the headaches of iOS 7. But they did the job. They got it working. And just listening to you and John with the interview today about iOS 10, it looks like they're starting to really get things right.
Yeah, I think they're really starting to get things right with iOS 10 and Sierra. I was very impressed with how well things worked with VoiceOver. And where I think Tim Cook has made the biggest contribution to accessibility is in working with others, because as much as we love Steve Jobs, Steve did not play well with others, and opening things up to Siri and third-party app developers, and partnering with Microsoft, and I mean, look at Microsoft 2016 is the first time Microsoft Office works with the Mac and VoiceOver, and I don't know if that happens if Steve Jobs was still around.
Oh, let me tell you, I just renewed my subscription to Microsoft Office 2016 because, I use my iPad at work a lot just to monitor, my students, and I check off what they know and don't know. And it just made it so much easier because now I can take out my stylus and I can actually just put check marks right on my Word documents on my iPad. It's awesome.
Well, it's a good thing Steve's gone because we wouldn't want him to know you were using a stylus. No, like I said, I give him probably a B+ in the job he's done. He definitely seems to care about accessibility. I think Apple's definitely going in the right direction when it comes to accessibility, and just playing well with others. I think we all benefit when these gigantic companies get along with each other.
Oh, okay. So when you say playing well with others, you don't mean the NSA.
No. We know I'm listening to them because I like to drop words on phone calls that definitely guarantees the NSA is listening in on me. And
you keep telling them, but I'm a comic.
And they say, that's not funny. We're the NSA. We don't believe in humor. So
we're the federal government.
But no, we'd like to hear from our listeners. What kind of job do you think Tim Cook's done in his 5 years since taking the helm? And you can let us know at iAccessVO at gmail.com or tweet us in at iAccessVO. And at the same time, we'd like to know what kind of job you think we do here at iAccessVO. And you can do that by going into the native podcast app on your iPhone, doing a search for iAccessVO, tapping the review tab, and leaving a 4 or 5 star review, because we know nobody would do less than that. And tell us what you think. So what do you think there, Ed?
I think that works well. I know every time I look in there, I'm very impressed about the reviews that our fans have left for us. I love the email we get. I love the phone calls that we get. And, we do marketing with this on Twitter and Facebook, and I have to say, we really don't have any trolls or issues out there. I think it's great. So that has to say something that we're doing something right.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to create a fake Twitter account and be our first troll. Because time is on my side. How many episodes is this, Ed?
23, my friend.
Are you sure? I think so.
I'm positive.
It's not 24?
Nope.
23. 23 it is, and we are out.
You have been listening to iAccessVO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iAccessVO@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.